meeting for June 12th, a week earlier than normal, due to some scheduling. Christina, would you call roll, please?
Brad Chance.
Here.
Greg McGee. Steve McLucky.
Present.
Terry Martell. Here. Michael Stockton.
Here.
Les Butler.
Here. Okay, a couple of notes. Greg McGee was out of town, so he's not here today. And then we had a resignation. Anthony Jeremita resigned from the board. I want to thank him for his time here, because he was on here for a number of years, and I appreciated his input and his insight. Always, he had only the best of interests at heart. So we're going to miss his voice here on the board. So we have an opening. So volunteers, step up, please. We need people. Okay. The other thing, and we'll talk about this later. Just put it in everybody's head. I know it says next meeting date's July 17th, which would be our normal Thursday in July, but several people are going to be gone for that meeting, so we're going to need to reschedule that, and we'll talk about that when we get to later on down in comments. Just want to throw that bug out there. Okay, so first item on the agenda is finance and admin. Financial report questions.
Yes, hello. You've met me a couple times before, Melissa Cabrera, Director of Finance. I also want to introduce Jacob Arnold. He is our new accounting manager and just started on Monday. Intention is for him to kind of take over the utility side of our accounting. So you will start to see him a lot more, and then we will probably transition to where he's giving the financial update at your monthly meetings, just because he will be working more in it day to day, working closer with the departments. So please welcome him. First week started on Monday, so very new.
If he makes it to the next meeting, it's a good sign.
I have a feeling he'll make it. Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Of course he'll make it.
So I looked through the financials. Obviously, we're coming up very close on year end, so I believe these are through April. Didn't see anything that really stuck out as significant for all three utility funds. Revenues are either right at what was budgeted or exceeding budget. And then on the expense side, things are trending below budget on each of the funds. So nothing that I see that's concerning there. Happy to answer any questions if you have anything to do with anything specific that you wanted to know about. One thing I did want to bring to your attention is on Monday night's council meeting, we will be bringing forth the annual property insurance renewal. So utilities is a separate from the other city properties. And then we'll also have the workers' comp renewal that will go on the Monday meeting. For utilities, the premium increase was 4% this year, 6% when you take into account that there is an additional $18,800 engineering fee in the premium that will support site visits and risk assessment by our insurance carrier this year. So they do that every other year. It's not something that is out of the norm. Overall, I think a 4% increase is not too bad, considering some of the increases that are happening across property insurance. I did attend a meeting given by a large broker for Missouri Municipal League, talking about insurance premiums and how things are going up across the board as insurance companies are trying to make up for some major losses that happened in 22, 23. So overall, not bad news on that front, and we will be continuing on with the same carrier, so there won't be any changes there.
Okay. Any questions on the finances? Guess not.
Okay,
Hey,
thank you.
Jacob, this is easy. Easy.
It always
just
goes
wait.
like that.
Okay, anything else on the financials, folks? Okay. Municipal services? Rich, Lisa?
We don't have any updates.
But are happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Anything for municipal services? Guess not. Not yet, anyway. We may think of something.
You might, and we're here.
Okay, IPL. A few of the things that I had put on here, I'd sent Christina, just was curious about they were already going to talk about storm restoration, but the summer plans. We know the heat's coming and how we prepare for that. Update on AMI, and then I see the statistical charts. We'll talk about those in the packet. So,
Okay,
Joe.
so, yeah, we'll tackle these one at a time here. So the update on the storm restoration, specifically, Independence had a tornado go through. Luckily, it was pretty small, pretty localized, but did cause some damage and I'll say a significant outage, right? I mean, I think our peak number was a little bit above 2,000 people out at one time, but within 24 hours, I will say we were down to, I think, about 50 customers. Our crews responded really well. It hit right at the end of our workday, so kind of a little bit lucky that we were able to have everybody there and go ahead and establish rounds and get everybody set up to work and respond to that in a 24-hour fashion until we were fully recovered. So it went really well. Didn't need any outside help with those numbers, and our guys performed great as they always do, and was able to, I think, get the lights back on for the residents. So
Yeah, I watched some of the comments on Independence Community Awareness, and they were all speaking praise for IPL to get stuff back on as quick as they did.
yeah, you in those circumstances, you kind of wait for things to hit, see what your outage numbers are, and then start doing assessments of what the actual damage is and how things can be restored, and then how much temporary work do you need to do to get the lights back on, and then come back and make permanent repairs. So
Is that the way they approach it? Go through and do temps and then come back and fix it permanent?
I mean, the hope is if you can make a permanent repair, but if it's going to be a timely thing, then yeah, they'll make a temporary repair and get power restored, and then come back when you have time. And so I know I've seen that in past storms, not with this storm, but in past storms, people have said, well, my lights were on, and then they went back off later, right? Well, we got to come back later sometimes, shut power off to a certain circuit, make the permanent repair, and then turn it back on. We're continuing to try to increase and do better with our communications on that, so that everybody is aware, and we do have systems where we're continuing to work with that. So
I know that's the way I'm used to restoration at Evergy or KCPO when I was there, was temps.
Yep.
Where you couldn't get it permanent and then just come back. It may be 2-3 weeks later, but at least they've got lights on.
well, and sometimes there's circumstances that drive you to a completely different solution for a permanent repair. So one example is right off of Truman Road, just east of 291. The tornado kind of hit right there, and it's behind some businesses, and it tore up a pretty good sized distribution line back, and it was behind the businesses, and it's where a line has kind of jumps back and forth across a creek. And over the years, right, it's been there for a long time. Over the years, the creek's wearing out, the creek bed's getting wider, closer to those poles. So you say, well, let's temporarily get those businesses back on, right? The trees were laid down, and I got pictures of that. So you do what you can and get the businesses back on, but the permanent repair may be, well, let's bring that clear to the street front now so that we have access to it, we can get to it, it's easier to access and update. So, but yeah, that's just kind of the plan of things.
All right, well, hats off to the crews. They did a great job.
Absolutely appreciate that, and I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you.
Next one, summer plan. So I do have a communications team, especially with the IPL Facebook page that's, up and running. And they put out summer campaigns every spring to talk about heat and energy reduction techniques that you can use on your home. They also they also advertise some of the programs that are available through IPL for energy upgrades and things like that. So I would say continue to look on the IPL Facebook page for those posts and continue to watch out. And we push those communications out on a yearly basis and try to remind people that temperature settings on your thermostat can have a major influence on how much power you use, and keeping shades and curtains closed, and there's a lot of different techniques people can use to try to reduce their energy usage.
Do they put anything out during a storm like that about, big thing is people always run the refrigerator. If it's not working, they keep opening the door to look at it. Trust me, they do. And it's better if you just leave it shut because it'll stay cold for so long, and I didn't know if they put anything out.
I mean, during storms, we're communicating the restoration progress and stuff like that, but those are good tips as well, and I can talk to them about.
Well, I've talked to
specific
emergency
ones,
preparedness
but-
too about doing the same thing, about putting some stuff out for folks about
Mhm.
what to do if, dry ice lasts so long and different things like that. It's just some tips.
I'll take that down.
Okay. That's a freebie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, AMI,
AMI, so, you guys know we put out the RFP for the program management. We got 9 respondents to that, was very happy with that. We narrowed it down to 3. Last week, we had, those 3 come on site and actually give us presentations, on their services and how they would tackle this project and different aspects of it. I do want to say that with each one of those, the conversation of an opt-out, what does that look like? How have you done that in the past? That was part of the discussion of every single one of those contractors. So right now, we're doing reference checks and doing grading, and then we will come up with a winner. There's a panel, and we'll select which one we think would be the best benefit to Independence.
any
Help
idea
us
of timeframe when you're looking to?
By the time we get done with grading, with holidays and other vacations and everything, I think I would like to get it in front of the PUAB board next month if we can get there, and then it would go to council after that.
Okay.
So that's just kind of the timing we're shooting for if we can get there.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I guess we're down now to the IPL statistical charts.
I'll turn it over to my finance manager, Amy.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Let me pull this closer. Good. There are not a lot of changes from what we reviewed last month when we looked at them. I did add a few of the footnotes that we discussed to explain some of the offsets from that fiscal year 2024 year. Overall, I would say April came in fairly flat. I believe it was maybe industrial. I'm trying to use my track.
According to the
here.
charts, the industrial were down a little.
The kilowatt hours on industrial were down a little bit. However, they were a little bit higher than prior year in March. So some of that may be timing or just differences in weather and offsetting. Overall, I think all of the charts came in pretty close to our monthly average, other than the offsets. And on the very last page, we did find some historical data that really just smoothed out that big valley we saw between 2019 and 2022. As we discussed before, there was a change in our billing system and the way that some of those meters versus accounts were being counted. So it smoothed it out. However, I still think that chunk of time is going to be relatively hard to nail down. And I think as we start adding, once 2025 gets added and then future years, I think we'll see some stabilization of those numbers. And then I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, folks? I like the new charts, though. It does kind of give us a trend
Yeah.
and help us spot any anomalies that may pop up. Okay.
So in the spirit of charts and graphs, our customer service department is working on a new bill print layout. We're not really ready to release that to the public yet, but I can, we're hoping by next meeting we'll have a mock bill to show you that has a trend for usage. It's going to be very easy layout. It's going to be a little bit of a bigger sheet so that everything will fit onto one side, and then the back side we can use for IPL utilities or even city communications, which in the past we've done bill inserts, but this will allow us to have a lot more communications on the bill. But the bill itself, you'll be able, is hopefully going to be a lot more transparent and able to see trends and see some information. It's also kind of on the front end of helping us once we get to AMI, there'll be a customer portal where you'll be able to access that information as well. So I just wanted you guys to know that that's coming in the near future, and looking forward to getting input on that.
I know a lot of people have a lot of questions on what's on that bill and what's in my bill and why did it go up. So this hopefully we'll show them graphically and explain that a little better to them. Michael, yeah?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
I think you know that at the last city council, they were talking about an amendment to transfer some of the risk management duties to the city, right? Okay. So my question about that is, how is that going to affect safety for IPL employees? How much of an FTE are they going to be allotting for the city? And how is that going to work with has anybody looked at best practices for other municipalities? How they do it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are currently two safety people in the city currently. And as I'm sure you've seen in the council meetings, this has been discussed recently. They both live in utilities, not worried about anyone in the general fund effectively. So basically the point is IPL has a great track record with safety. So the desire is to replicate that citywide. I actually spoke with IPL safety person earlier today, and he is looking forward to this and thinks and sees the value of this shouldn't just be applied to utility workers because we can cover that with rates and all the things. It should be a citywide perspective. And our city manager had sent out to council an email with some statistics about incidents in other departments over the last year and just the gross increase that others have seen, while IPL has enjoyed very little growth in incidents. And then the position that is also housed in municipal services is relatively new overall. So while we have a brand new department-wide safety manual, just looking to expand that citywide. And so the people that are currently in the utilities will continue to watch the utilities. The beauty of IPL's program, and again, in speaking with that staff member earlier, that program, while very active and lots going on and still training and all those things, is very much in more of a maintenance mode instead of a create mode. So he can go into create mode for the whole city while still maintaining IPL's performance from a safety perspective. And that was the conversation. He's like, I've already told him, anytime there's something you think needs my attention, you let me know, and I'm on it. And he absolutely will be. And the same for our municipal services staff member. The goal is not to take them away from their programs. The goal is that by consolidating them, they can accomplish more. And hopefully, ultimately, we would really like to look at adding an additional person to accommodate just full citywide. There, we have almost 1,200 employees, right? So a lot to look after. But I think everybody can see the wisdom in having that be a citywide approach instead of giving the perception that we only care about these couple of departments, right? And the city's risk management statistics are not great over the last couple of years. So really just looking to apply the lessons learned in IPL and that success across the board.
Yeah, because I was kind of surprised when I realized that the city didn't have one for the rest of the city.
Yeah, and
and
that's normal. Other places
is it
that have
really?
safety, they do apply it. When actually Rich could talk about this because he actually had the conversation, but when he approached our safety person, that staff member's response was, of course it should be citywide. That's the norm everywhere I've been.
Right.
So we are the exception, not the rule.
So lastly, who pays for that?
So the utilities will continue to fund salaries, and then there is a risk management fund that we're looking at taking money from to add additional dollars and or additional position.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because according to the charter, the city IPL is supposed to have everything separate money-wise. So that's why I'm trying to wrap my head around if they're going to be providing services for the general city, shouldn't that come out of the city's general fund?
It should come out of, yes, general fund, risk management fund for the city as a whole. And I think you can all agree, it's not really fair to say, go from looking at this one department to citywide without some kind of increase. And that increase in dollars would definitely come from those funds, not the utility, in both cases, in IPL and municipal services.
So FTEs will be separated. I mean, like the time he spends with the city, you will be able to see
They would
the
still,
funds
they would still be separated,
out.
and like I said, so Rick has been very successful in IPL, and we do not want to pull him away from that. So it's not like we're taking that person and saying, okay, you did this, now go look at fire or community development. We still want him very much to be that one focused on IPL and add to. And same with Dakota, our municipal services person. He already knows the players, he knows the processes, he put them in place.
Right.
So we don't want to take him specifically away from that department. We're adding to. So the adding to gets funded from non-utility dollars, and
Okay.
the utility piece is still funded from utility
And,
dollars.
and we'll be able to see that, how that's separated out.
This is, yes, how this is, like I said, ultimately, we would love to see a third person in that group. I don't know how long that will take, and I don't know the consolidation of these two working with each other and applying that will take, this is very early. We've had 2 conversations total about this. We see the need, and now comes the discussions about the logistics and the actual execution.
Okay.
But yes, everyone is fully aware that utility dollars and general fund dollars need to stay separate.
Okay, thanks.
You know, it's something that when I was at KCPL, keep going back to that, but we had some pretty bad safety numbers in our office staff. Things were happening. People were tripping and, you know, file cabinet doors were getting closed and people were hitting their heads and things. So they implemented just a real simple policy that anytime you have a meeting of more than 3 people, you had to have a safety moment. And a lot of people at first thought that was kind of stupid. But if you get meeting topics, you know, whoever's running the meeting, just throw out a 5-minute safety topic on something pertaining to office safety or something pertaining to what they're doing. And it really lowered the numbers. People really started paying attention. And people were saying, hey, we've got more than 3 people here. We have to have a safety moment. And so they were holding each other accountable to it. So kind of a low-cost way to just keep safety in front of everybody's mind. But that's another freebie you can use. Okay, anything else on the statistical charts? So I guess it's still with you, Lisa. Update on city governance.
So this can probably turn into group discussion, but basically, here, I will pass these down. So a couple of you were at the citywide, or the city council session, roundtable when we discussed this first. So coming out of that was this potential, this is a draft charter amendment that our city manager has drafted for review. And you'll see on the side that Joe has already commented, others will comment. This is just a draft, want to be very clear. But again, if we are changing the governance structure, we are looking at a charter amendment, because in the existing charter, this is a policy advisory board, not a governing board. So take this and feel free to comment. We do have this coming Monday on the 16th, another meeting scheduled with City Council, and we will be having the City Utilities Director from Springfield joining that conversation. Joe has facilitated that. So we'll have that conversation just about the ins and outs of how that works. And also on that agenda is the review of this draft amendment.
Do you know, I was on the Charter Review Committee, and we looked at the section for public utilities. Was any of that taken into consideration when he did this, do you know?
The governance of the utility wasn't really
Yeah,
part
the
of
governance
that.
wasn't, we didn't discuss it, but there
Right.
was other stuff that probably should be in this, because this isn't listed public utilities governance, it's just the whole public utilities piece.
It is.
And there may be some stuff from what we did.
And that's why I wanted to
That
pass
might
it out
slide
to
in.
you all today. If there are things that you see in this that you think need to be added, this is a good time to throw those in, because again, this is simply a draft and open for discussion. You will note in this that it breaks it out into 2 things, because following the last city council roundtable about governance, the thing that came out of that was basically, it looks like we're marching down the direction of a utility board governing IPL and water and sewer being separate and still having the PUAB, that those two utilities would continue to meet with, and then IPL having the governing board that utility would report to. So you'll see that in this draft as well.
I had a discussion with Councilmember Fears about a week ago with that very thing about don't lose sight of the PUAB, because just because IPL's going to have governance, the other part of it still needs input too.
Sure. And I think, to be honest, when we had that first meeting, I think the general direction was that all three utilities would be governed by that board, and really following both DKMT's recommendation and just the discussion of the differences. The thing that came out of that was maybe not, maybe water and sewer stay here and IPL becomes its own.
Is that meeting on Monday going to be recorded?
It will be recorded. It's in this room and it's a public meeting, so feel
Well,
free to join.
I'm
It's at
10 a.m.
10
Teaching
a.m.
over in Blue Springs and not able to attend that one, but I just wanted to make sure I was able to watch it
Yep.
though.
So that, because it's a full council meeting invited, it would be recorded and all.
Yep. So if anybody can make that meeting, it would be worthwhile to be a fly on the wall just to see what the discussion is. I know Councilmember Fear said we're a long way from making a decision.
Sure.
But to talk along the way is the important piece.
Especially with things like this that will
Yeah.
require another vote of the public
Okay,
and
that's
all
what I
the
was
things.
wondering.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
a
gotta be
charter,
a
this is a
charter.
charter
Any-
amendment. This
any
is
charter
absolutely
thing's
a
gotta
public
go to
vote.
the Public.
100%.
Hopefully it's written where they can understand it this time.
Hopefully so. But feel free to weigh in.
And I was on that committee before, so I didn't understand them either.
Anything I miss in there?
Help me help you.
Yes.
Yes. Any input's valid, so we appreciate it.
Okay,
And yeah, this very, very, very first draft, right?
Yep.
So I mean, lots of openness for input and lots of time, I would say, right? They're not, I mean, this isn't gonna be put to a vote in August of this year. There's still
Yeah.
some time, and then once they finalize what everybody thinks it should look like, then there's gonna be lots of communication to
Right.
the public, right?
yeah, and it needs to be. I mean, it's just like anything else. Try to educate them everybody as best you can.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd suggest we have this on the agenda next meeting, just so
Okay,
we're thinking about it and comment.
yeah. Maybe give us something to talk about the governance piece. Sure. And if you have anything before that you want to have Christina send out to the rest of us, just send it to her and she'll get it out to us. Okay, anything else from the Assistant City Manager, Rand Pupa?
Well, there's a lot going on. I don't think that it's anything that really I need to take your time up with. So if you've got other questions about this or anything else, I'm happy to answer them, but I don't have anything else.
Any questions for Assistant City Manager? Okay, I don't think of anything. We're down to board member comments. Comments, questions, concerns? Discussion? Okay, it says on our agenda here, the next meeting date's July 17th, and like I said earlier, several people are going to be gone. That's also when we elect officers for the next year. So what I'm recommending is just look at the calendar. This room's available if we move it up a week again, like we did this one, to the 10th of July. So anybody have any concerns? I know we like to keep it on the same schedule for people watching it. It'll still be televised. I think it's just be a week sooner like this one was. Okay, I guess we'll make the next meeting then. It'll be July 10th instead of the 17th. Same time, same location. And we'll have this as one agenda item, and then as the month rolls along, if you have anything else to put on the agenda, please get it to Christina. Okay, no other comments, no questions? I guess we're gonna stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Quick one. Yeah. I've been I teach up at Park, graduate school, and